Hey yo guys, I'm back here to give you my reviews of both the Strikeforce show that took place on Showtime, or I should say the debut Strikeforce show that took place on Showtime, as well as last night's HBO Championship boxing that took place obviously on HBO, with the main event being Paul the Punisher Williams versus Winky Wright. Gotta say for Strikeforce, I think they hit a home run, or maybe a triple on their opening show on Showtime. I thought production was well. I loved the announce team of Gus Johnson, Mauro Ronaldo, and Pat Miletich as the inside guy with the insider tips, since he'd been in the ring or in the ring cage, whatever you want to say. I enjoyed that. Production values was great, and best of all, we got at least 3 really good fights. Excellent stuff there. I really enjoyed it. With HBO, I thought it was a pretty good show. Definitely have seen better HBO shows, but I thought the main event was what I expected it to be, so I enjoyed it. I mean, it went basically to a T how I thought it would. So yeah, and Chris Arreola had a pretty good performance against Jameel McCline. Anyways, I'll review the Strikeforce show first. We kicked things off with a heavyweight bout between Brett the Grim Rogers versus Abongo Humphrey, or Ron. I don't know, wherever I saw the previews of these shows, everyone that his name is wrong, but Ron, apparently when he goes to the fight, his name was Abongo. Whatever. I thought this was a really good fight, especially for heavyweights. At the pace they were going, they had a really quick pace. The thing to me, Humphrey isn't a joke. I mean, yeah, he's the guy that won BET's Iron Ring show, but still, he's no joke. I mean, he came there to fight, and Rogers took a lot of effort to get him down. I will say that. My thing is, I think he should go down maybe to 205. I think he's a little too small for heavyweight, as Rogers in this fight was able to use his strength and mass to keep Humphrey in the corner there, and level him with Muay Thai knees. But I will say that Humphrey was able to, have some defective striking. I mean, he had some really good striking, I should say, for, most of really through the first round. The first round was kind of barred. I don't want to say controversy, because it really wasn't, when Abongo Humphrey had dreadlocks, and Brett Rogers, who's been on Muay Thai since the last time we saw him back in, late May of last year. He was doing his Muay Thai, which was really improved, as he even stated, and I was really impressed with it. So he would clinch, and his hands would get caught in the hair and would be pulling it. So referee Herb Dean warned him. He warned him again, and then he took a point, which I thought was unfortunate, because if this has gone to the down the road, maybe to the 3rd round, I don't think it would have definitely the fight, but it would have hurt maybe the overall margin on where I thought it would go. Overall, I had Rogers winning the round, but then, due to that 1 point taken away, I had to make it a 9-9 round. But then Rogers eventually gets things done. He finishes off Humphrey in the second round, I should say. He continued to use those Muay Thai knees. I mean, those Muay Thai knees were vicious, busting Humphrey's face up. I mean, really, I think he broke Humphrey's nose on those. Sends Humphrey down and delivers some strikes, and Herb Dean steps in, he stops it. Brett Rogers proves he's a real strong heavyweight. Really looking forward to seeing more of him in Strikeforce. I think Brett Rogers is one of the better heavyweights in MMA today. I mean, he's still undefeated, so really looking for good things. But yeah, like I said with Humphreys, he definitely is maybe a bit too small for heavyweight and should go to 205. Then I think it'd be maybe a real killer there. Then they showed Mickey Rourke, who he's been everywhere. Now it was last weekend, it was WrestleMania. This weekend, Strikeforce. He got a pretty good pop as well. In the opening, they showed the likes of the Strikeforce heavyweight champion Alistair Overeem. They showed Tito Ortiz. They showed Gina Carano. They showed Kung Lee. Gina got a pretty good pop, but when they first showed him, it was Kung with the best pop. But eventually, when we went to the next fight, they showed a lot of Gina Carano, and her pop kept getting bigger and bigger. So I mean, she's really a big superstar for this sport. Which then is my nice segue here to the women's bout between Cristiane the Cyborg Santos versus Hitomi Akano. Really, my feelings, should this fight have taken place? I really don't think so, since much weight that Cyborg missed by. She missed it by 7 pounds, and she didn't even really make the weight on the comeback, and then they just agreed to, you know, a new weight, which, you know, wasn't fair because, like, you know, I think Cyborg may have been maybe 10 or more pounds heavier than Akano here, and it was definitely evident because we all knew that Cyborg was, you know, the bigger and the stronger, and she just absolutely proved that. She threw Hitomi Akano around like she was nothing. I mean, German suplexes, or variations of them, I should say, and, you know, just tossing her around, and, you know, her being in absolute control, you know, devastating Akano. I mean, she didn't finish her off early in the fight, which I thought she could have, but, you know, I guess that may be her, you know, technique, not trying to finish the fight. Japanese fighters, since they're, you know, cunning and they're really tough to finish. So that's where, you know, we went. That was basically the whole fight, really. It was Akano getting, you know, thrown around and being, you know, overpowered, overmatched. But I will say Akano came to fight. She brought her game. I mean, there was that one point where Cyborg threw a punch and Akano jumped into it and tried to get a flying armbar. I thought that was impressive and showed, you know, the Bushido warrior way that she had. I'll give her a big round of applause. I'll give her, you know, a thumbs up there. I thought she did a great job in the fight, but overall, she was just overmatched too much by Cristiane Cyborg Santos, and she gets the win, and it looks like now we're going to have that big fight probably, hopefully on CBS. I mean, I know Showtime would want it, but that's a CBS fight to me between Cristiane Cyborg Santos and Gina Carano, which I think will do, you know, be the most popular female MMA fight ever, and could maybe send MMA up into a new stratosphere with, you know, a different fan base, you know, get female MMA as big as, like, when they had that Women's World Cup and the States won that, so maybe it's something of that nature. And then we went to definitely the fight of the night. It was a middleweight bout between Benji Radach and Scott Hands of Steel Smith. This fight was awesome. I mean, these guys both said that they wanted to keep it stand up, and they did. They did for about, I'd say maybe about 85% of the fight. I would say maybe not that much, maybe 75, but great fight overall. I mean, Smith in the first round came out, you know, he rocked Radach, but then, you know, when Smith thought he had Radach in trouble, Radach came around and rocked Smith, you know, eventually to turn around, and he got a takedown immediately around. And then in the second, I absolutely thought Smith was out. I mean, there was this vicious shot. I believe it was a right cross that dropped Smith. I mean, Smith went down in a heap, but I thought it was over. I thought Herb Dean should have stepped in and waved it off, but Smith had, you know, a single leg on him, on Radach there, and I thought, oh, he's still okay. I mean, he was still in the fight, and, you know, Radach definitely then was on top and mounted, and, you know, definitely won the round with, you know, the dropping, and I wouldn't have given it a 10-8 because Smith was actually still there, which, you know, to me is amazing, but still I would have, I mean, I definitely gave the round to Radach. You know, he had him on top, and I think also in that round, you know, Smith stood up, and there was a big slam from Radach as well. Nicely done there by Benji Radach. But then in the, you know, you could tell in the second, before the third round started that, you know, Smith wanted to quit. He really didn't want to continue, but he thought, ah, what the hell, I'll just go out there and see what happens. And what happened was he knocked out Benji Radach. I mean, this was awesome. I mean, the crowd was into this fight. I mean, he came out there. I mean, like he'd been waiting to throw this perfectly timed punch all night, and it happened. And he drops Benji Radach, and the fight was over. I mean, this was just a devastating punch, dropping Radach. A couple more shots, I believe, after that, but Herb Dean stepped in and waved it off. Awesome fight. I mean, this thing came off so well on TV. Crowd was into it. It was what we expected to be a stand-up war, and it was excellent fight. It could maybe get some votes for Fight of the Year, I don't know. But I thought it was definitely awesome. You know, definitely one of the better fights of 2009 so far. And I really look forward to seeing more of Smith. I mean, he is definitely proven to be, you know, a star now. A true star now with, you know, the deals on, you know, his time on CBS with, you know, the Lawler fights. And now with Showtime, that was a star-making performance right there. You know, to come back like that, you know, after being, you know, hurt, you know, twice in two different rounds. Excellent stuff there. Then we went to the next, which was for the interim Strikeforce lightweight championship. It was Gilbert Melendez versus Rodrigo Damm. Really, this fight went how I expected, and it, you know, Melendez came and rushed Damm and dropped him, and then he just, you know, delivered some vicious ground and pound. I mean, he was like extremely effective on his punching in that round. You know, definitely winning the round. And then in the second, he absolutely rocked Rodrigo Damm down to become the Strikeforce Interm-Lightweight champion. He's looking to take on Josh Thompson in a rematch. I mean, that's a fight that they need. It's not, you know, a mega star fight, but to me, to the hardcore fans, or, you know, that's something they really care about. And I think it's a fight that should take place on Showtime. Be a main event on, you know, maybe a card in August or July, something of that nature. Once, you know, Smith, or excuse me, Josh Thompson. Bleh. When Josh Thompson gets better, when his leg gets better, I think that's something they definitely need to put in place. And then we went to the main event, which was Frank Shamrock versus Nick Diaz. I mean, overall, I thought, you know, the whole build up to the fight, even on the show, they did a great job of building it up there. They did a fantastic job building it up with, you know, these little packages, and, you know, the guys talking about it. I thought they did a great job there. But overall, I mean, the fight wasn't really what I expected. More so from Shamrock. I thought, you know, Shamrock should have used his kicks more. I mean, Frank Shamrock has some vicious kicks, but he didn't use them that well, or he didn't throw that many punches. I mean, he definitely would have hit, I think he would have hit Diaz pretty hard if he'd thrown, you know, a couple more punches. Some punches. He just really stood there and let Diaz, you know, pitter-patter punch him and, you know, wear him down, and then eventually Diaz, you know, in the second round dropped him and, you know, kept punching the tar out of Frank's head before Big John McCarthy stepped in there and waved it off. And overall, I mean, after the whole hubla between the build-up, between the trash talk and, or what have you, you know, Diaz showed some class and said, this is a legend right here. Look forward to seeing more of Diaz, definitely. Probably return back to lightweight or wherever he wants to go now. I think he's a great fighter. Can't take that away. I mean, now he's got a big name on his record. Maybe Frank should retire. I don't know. I think Frank's a great color analyst, or a great analyst person and a great personality, but I don't know if we really want to see him fight. I mean, it's a name like that, you know, the Shamrock name, it's turning into two journeymen who I don't think that's great. I mean, they have such a history in this sport of MMA. I don't really want to see them go in there and, you know, kill themselves. But anyways, then we move over things to the realm of the sweet science of boxing. We had a pretty good night of fights from the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Like I said, we started things off in a heavyweight bout between Chris Arreola and Jameel McCline. Really, this fight was, you know, McCline definitely, you know, took this fight on short notice, only like 6 weeks notice, and you could tell, I mean, he looked gassed after the first round, like chugging along, you know, Arreola picked his spots whenever he felt like throwing, you know, some good flurries. He did up in the first couple rounds. That's exactly what he did, and it would definitely win the rounds. The third round, you know, I guess Arreola may have just took a break. I would have to assume, as McCline actually threw some effective punches, some that may have, I mean, Arreola said that they didn't hurt him. I don't think they did, but, you know, they definitely looked very effective, and to me that was enough to win the round. But then Arreola was like, you know what, those looked a lot better. I probably didn't have my best round there. I'm just going to go out there and finish it. You know, he threw a nice combination and drops Jameel McCline, and McCline, you know, he just didn't want to get up. He really didn't want it, and you could tell him that, since, you know, said he was retired. He only took it on 6 weeks notice. And Chris Arreola wins. He gets another knockout, his 24th of his career, moving up to 27-0. Definitely look for big things from him in the heavyweight division. Should he get a championship? I absolutely think so. Maybe that he could, you know, maybe a name like that. I don't know. I think he definitely needs to take on someone, you know, another weight task before we get into the big title picture, like with the Klitschko's or anyone of that nature. That's where I'm thinking. So that's my thoughts on that fight. And then we went to the main event between Paul the Punisher Williams and Winky Wright. Overall, I really enjoyed this fight. I thought it was, you know, really exciting. I mean, Winky was definitely bothered by, you know, how lanky and tall and just how long of a reach that Paul Williams has. He was definitely bothered by that, and just his weird matchup style. And, you know, Paul Williams did exactly what I thought he would do, and that was, you know, do what he should do to win the fight. You know, keep pestering Winky Wright, because Winky's likes to throw defense or what have you, and, you know, if Williams is able to, you know, impose his will and, you know, just keep pressing the pace, he's going to win the fight, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't have enough, you know, enough power in his punches to rock Winky at all, but he was definitely, you know, to mash his face up and absolutely throw more punches and, you know, just absolutely catch Winky off guard. Winky kind of switched up his game plan because, like I said, Winky likes to be defensively. You know, he's a defensive mastermind, but he went and tried to throw some more punches. You know, the first couple rounds, I would say, actually were really exciting, but, you know, I think the more busyness of, if that's even a word, of Paul Williams was why I would give him, you know, those rounds. Definitely the first round, Winky threw maybe the better, more powerful and effective punches, but I just think the busyness was why I gave Williams the round, and much more through the fight. And, you know, towards the end, you know, Winky didn't even throw any more punches, and Paul just went out there and just dominated him. You know, and Williams won pretty big. I believe the scores were 119-109, same way I had it, on 2 of the judges' scorecards, and one judge had a complete shutout. It had 120-108. So that's how you score the fight. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good fight. You know, I really look to see big things from Paul Williams. I mean, hopefully someone will actually want to fight him. I mean, he can probably fight in any weight class and probably become a top champion, but that's my opinions there. And then, you know, HBO did a nice little thing, you know, saying, you know, RIP to, I believe the guy's name was Artie, and I can't remember the last name at the moment, which I just feel horrible about, but they did a nice little job. I mean, you could tell that Jim Lamp, you know, choked up, and Larry Merchant was choked up. They did a nice little thing. I mean, they showed, you know, pictures of him, and they did a nice little ceremony before the Wright-Williams fight, and they did a nice little graphics at the end. I thought that was nice of them to do. I mean, just because, you know, he wasn't a big fighter or anything. He's just a guy that worked at HBO, but he meant a lot to everyone, and that's, to me, something very important that I'm happy they took the time out to do. And overall, great night of fights on, you know, both Strikeforce and boxing. Overall, thumbs up to both shows, and I'm definitely looking for your feedback on, you know, the HBO boxing, or championship boxing card, as well as the Strikeforce Diaz versus Shamrock fight. You know, best fight, worst fight, overall opinions. Please leave them in the comment box. As well, you know, I'll have to check out 24/7 Pacquiao Hatton, and I really want to see what this Thrilla in Manila documentary that HBO put on looks like. I'm really excited to see this. But overall, that's it for me. I am out. Peace.